Let's shift gears here a little bit and bring in Lions insider Dave Burkett from the Detroit Free Press, who joins us on occasion here on 97.1 The Ticket. Dave, how are you?
Good morning, fellas. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Thank you for being with us. And I guess we'll start with the L'Jarius Sneed report in the USA Today. Do you buy it? Do you think the Lions actually kick the tires on the corner that would be CB1 immediately here in Detroit?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think the Athletic, Diana Rossini, had said a couple things as well, just mentioning the Lions as a strong contender there. And look, I know the Lions have a healthy respect for L'Jarius Sneed, for the way that he plays, for the season that he had. So I know there's some definite interest there. Ultimately, it's going to come down to, what's the price and are the Lions willing to pay it, right? You have to give him a big contract and you have to trade some draft capital. And so, it's maybe not quite as easy as just connecting the dots and saying, yeah, the Lions need a number one cornerback, and he's basically the only one left on the market that would fill that hole. So I don't know that anything is close to being done, but I certainly, give the Lions, or think the Lions have done their due diligence on this.
If you are trading for him, I don't know where we saw second-round pick floated out there. And it's non-exclusive tag. You only have to give up 2 first-rounders if you make an offer sheet and they match it. This is different in that you're just talking about trading before and then the contract gets struck. But what the Lions' second-round pick is so bad compared to everybody else. It's so bad. It's not as good. Does that mean you have to give up the first-rounder to get him?
Well, I don't know. I think the second round, you sort of look at the value that some other cornerbacks and some other tag and trades, for that matter, have got in the past. And, Jalen Ramsey, he was the best cornerback in the game when that happened, he got a couple firsts and some other stuff. And so it's not going to be that high. Yannick Ngakoue, I think I looked this up earlier after talking to Kang, he was a tag and trade guy with Jacksonville, and he got, or with the Jaguars traded him to Minnesota, and he got a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. And so it's not always first-round picks or multiple ones that go in these sort of deals. I think it's, Sneed is a really good player. And talking to some people around the league when I was doing my all-pro voting, a lot of people said this guy is he should be on your all-pro team. I mean, he had that kind of season. But I don't know that he's held in quite the same esteem that Jalen Ramsey was when the Rams acquired him a few years ago. So, look, depending on what other teams are in the market and whether Sneed would want to play for those teams long-term might ultimately determine the price that the Lions would have to give up to get him.
You start looking at that, Dave, and it's like Brad Holmes so far through 3 drafts has not given up first-round picks. They've been building this roster. They've built it so well that there is depth on it. That it seems like low man on the roster is a good player. But maybe now is the time to start adding the high-end players. Would this be the year that they maybe finally trades a first-round pick and lands a player like that? And also the other part of it is the cap going to be a problem for this team in a couple of years because of all the players they have to re-sign?
Well, I mean, that's, Brad has to take a long-term view of this, and that's sort of what he has to decide. And the cap, the cap is always what it is. You can always play around with some numbers, and maybe eventually when you kick the can down the road long enough, you run into some problems. So I don't know that the cap is a huge issue, but to build it the right way, it's not just about, you're giving up a first-round pick or even a second-round pick. It's that player is then going to be cost-controlled for you for 4 or 5 years. And when you're signing, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff to big extensions this offseason, and Penei Sewell and Aiden Hutchinson down the road, maybe Aleem McNeil, right? These guys are going to cost a lot of money, and so you need some of those young, cost-controlled players behind them. Those become really valuable assets to making sure that you have a deep team. Because, Gator, to me, I am certainly in the group of, hey, you have a window to win now. Go get L'Jarius Sneed. This is what you need. This helps out. He's a number one cornerback. He turns the defense around. But I think from the Lions standpoint, they see that, but they also say, well, if L'Jarius Sneed is going to cost us, let's just say $20 million a year. Well, we could get 3 players for $6.5 million a year. And is it better to have that really good depth at whatever positions of need than to have one good cornerback? We all know how injuries happen in the NFL, how often they are. And so I think that's the thing that this organization has been wrestling with as they've built this, and really why, Dan and Brad and this regime have opted to not spend frivolously not hand out these big money free agent deals and really build through the draft and build with depth signings, veteran depth signings in free agency.
Well, that's everything they've said. Everything they've said indicates don't expect L'Jarius Sneed or any other big name outside free agent. All of their public indications are that. Do you believe them, or do you think that it's still possible they go big in free agency?
Well, I think it's possible, but only for a guy like L'Jarius Sneed. I mean, Chris Jones, but it doesn't sound like he's moving, right? There's only a handful of those guys in free agency. So do I think the Lions could get a Sneed? Yeah, because, talking to people in Indianapolis, agents, people around the league, that's what they say, right? The Lions, if there's one sort of guy, one difference maker that you can go get, you get it. But free agency, as we saw with all the players that have come off the board already with franchise tags, there just aren't a whole lot of those players out there. So if they don't get Sneed, do I think they spend on Fuller? I don't, right? I think it'd be in their best interest then to get a guy like a Stephon Gilmore, a veteran 1-year deal, rather than to lock another cornerback up for 3 or 4 years and be maybe in a bad contract that you want to get out of 2 years from now.